Well, hi everyone, and welcome back. I'm Krista Clark, and this is Seventh Planet Broadcasting, and I'm very happy to be with you today. I have a good friend on with me today, Maitreya Cempaka, and I'm just super honored to have you on Seventh Planet Broadcasting. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Krista. It's great to be here.
Yeah, very happy to have you, and I know everyone's going to really interested in your story and your spiritual awakening. If you wouldn't mind just giving a short introduction about who you are and the kind of the services that you offer.
Sure. Gosh, it's so funny because I had a ego ego death on Saturday with questioning who I am. Um, well, normally that would be a normal question. Who am I? I feel like I'm a messenger of light and love. I started this path years and years ago. And I guess, when I became a Reiki master in 2017, everything changed for me because at that time I was a freelance writer. I was writing for several publications in Bali and abroad. And I had a professional career as a writer. But after I became initiated as a Reiki master, my whole life changed. I had also a kind of ego death at that experience, and I really came into this place of not knowing who I was and who I wanted to be. And shortly after that, I started channeling and connecting with my guides. I was getting lots of messages. And then one by one, I lost all of my writing jobs. It was really strange, Krista. I started getting emails from people that I'd been writing for years saying, "Oh, we don't need your services anymore." And I was like, "This is strange." And then the next week I would get another email, and the next week, and I was like, "Whoa, I'm losing all my income." And
Yeah.
I started getting really scared. And I remember going upstairs and going, "Hey," yelling at my guys, "What are you doing? Don't take my jobs away. How am I going to live and sustain my life?" I heard this voice very clearly, like, "Don't worry, it's time for you to fully step on this path." And I even get chills as I say this to you now. And I was kind of like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "You're going to work full time now as a spiritual teacher and healer, and you will always be taken care of. Don't worry about money. You'll be fine." And of course, I thought, "Am I going crazy? Is this really happening?" But true to their word, I started working full time as a healer and teacher. I was teaching Reiki at the time. And then I ended up going from Reiki and diving deep into shamanism. So that's kind of how my journey began.
Wow. And was that like a part of your catalyst for your spiritual awakening, or was that a separate experience, would you say?
I'd say it was definitely a catalyst for my awakening, for sure, becoming the Reiki master that I did. And yeah, for sure it was.
And so
Yeah.
how did you stumble into Reiki, just out of curiosity?
I began learning, well, I was living in the United States in Colorado, and I remember I was pregnant or I'd just given birth to my first son. And I remember feeling like I don't want to be reliant on doctors. I really want to find an alternative way to help my son if he ever got sick. And then I met this beautiful teacher. Her name is Stacy. And at the time, I had no money. And she said, "Look, I'll initiate you to Reiki 1, just bring a gift." And so she initiated me into Reiki 1. And that was quite a long time ago. I'm guessing 25 years ago. So I guess if I really think about when my spiritual journey began, it started there. But I've always had these psychic abilities and gifts since my earliest memory is around 4 years old.
Oh, wow. Wow. And what was that like? I mean, having memories at that young of an age.
It was really strange because I had the capacity to tap into people's consciousness and know what they were thinking and feeling. And I would get this information that was beyond my 4-year-old mind that, like, I don't even know how to explain it. It was like the 4-year-old didn't really comprehend it, but my higher self knew that it was true. But I didn't know how to process that information when I was so little.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's probably, I'm sure it was exciting, but maybe at times overwhelming too, to not know how to, to process that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Very overwhelming.
So through looking for a solution for, an alternative healthcare for your children, then that's how Reiki kind of found its way to your path. That's beautiful.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it was really beautiful. And I remember my older son was getting a lot of earaches, and I also was drawn to natural medicines and herbs and so forth. And that's when I started investigating because the doctors kept wanting to put him on more antibiotics and more. And I was like, I said to my husband at the time, no more. We're going to find another way. And the solution was garlic oil,
Wow.
eardrops. And I started using that, and he never got an ear infection again.
That's beautiful. Yeah, there's so many, different, ways that we can heal ourselves through nature and everything. And I find I'm
Absolutely.
definitely more drawn to those modalities.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
what other healing modalities have you learned and what was really the reason behind learning them?
Well, after Reiki, it was kind of like a whirlwind of learning because while I love Reiki and I still to this day feel like it's an excellent foundation for anybody who wants to learn about energy healing or even for their own emotional and spiritual development, it's an incredible modality. I saw that there were some limitations, like I wasn't able to get to certain depths with people with Reiki. And what I mean by that is like emotional trauma, even physical trauma to some degree. Reiki wasn't really shifting things or healing those issues. And that's what led me to study hypnotherapy. And I also became a coach because I realized people, they're not just going to come to you and get healing. They need sort of like a kind of coach or counselor. And so it's like as I continue to heal, the clients that showed up showed me what I needed to learn.
Mhm. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, kind of like
Yeah.
your path, and then it would help you learn.
Yeah. So
Sometimes
I
when you
was
have to
propelled.
implement it, you learn like at
Yeah.
such a different level.
Yeah. So it was in many ways they were also my teachers.
Yeah. So if for those that don't know, would you mind describing a little bit about what Reiki is and hypnotherapy?
Yeah, so Reiki is universal energy. And so there is this energy out in the universe that we can all tap into and become a channel for through our intention and focus. And the purpose of like learning Reiki is that it's like imagine you're a radio station and you're just not quite tuned into the station, so there's some static. What an attunement does for people is it brings you fully in alignment, so you're fully tuned in and the channel is clear and you can channel that universal energy through you to heal yourself or other people. I think that's the simplest explanation of Reiki. But every, I think every energy modality is tapping into universal energy. It's just that Reiki, which was founded by Usui, is one of the most well-known forms of energy healing, and it's become almost like very normal. Like they even use Reiki in hospitals now to help patients.
Oh. And the hypnotherapy, like how does that differ from Reiki?
Well, it's very, very different. Reiki is obviously working with the energy field. It's working with the energy within you as well, clearing out any density, and healing any imbalances. But hypnotherapy is working more with the mind, particularly the subconscious mind, which is the driver of our consciousness. So, like 80%, I would say, of our thoughts, behavioral patterns, and ways of being come from the subconscious. And so the memories are stored there. It's a lot like your subconscious is your hard drive. And so sometimes viruses get, into the hard drive and we need to delete them. And so hypnotherapy has the capacity with a skilled hypnotherapist to move into somebody's subconscious, find what the viruses are, so to speak, and transmute them and heal them so that people can come back into their everyday life and feel more at peace and more, fulfilled in their lives. So hypnosis is a really powerful modality. It's not for everybody, especially for people that are very skeptical or super in their heads, super, super analytical. It's a little bit difficult to hypnotize people like that. I have, but hypnotherapy requires a certain level of trust and rapport between the client and the hypnotherapist for it to really work well.
You found that people channel information in that state?
Sure. You mean the hypnotherapist or the client? Both, in both
Yeah, kind
cases.
of
Yeah.
both in a way.
Yeah. Like they can have past life memories that are connected to why they are stuck in a particular area of their lives. So, for example, I actually have a session coming up with a client on Saturday who wants to do a past life regression because she can't figure out, she's tried so many other things and nothing has helped her resolve the issue that she has. And so I said, okay, yeah, let's do hypnosis. Let's see if there's something related to your past lives. Um, Doris Cannon is famous for her work with working with past life regression. And I do feel in the right situation, it could be really a powerful way to heal particular patterns in our lives. So yeah, and when people start seeing their past lives, they see, like for example, when I get them into hypnosis, I tell them to look down at their hands, what size are their hands, can they recognize what their sex is, and looking at their environment, where are you? And then it becomes through a little bit of guidance without me telling them exactly anything particular, they start to see the picture of their past life. And then I ask them, what what do you believe might have been the biggest lesson that you came into that life for? Or what were you there to learn? And it just starts to flow. It's really incredible what happens in either in a hypnotherapy session or a past life regression. It's pretty amazing.
So it can go to either just current day information or it could even go past, like back into your past life. So it can be, you could use it for just what's going on now, but you could also tap into something beyond that if you wanted to, or
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you can even do future progression as well.
oh wow, wow, get your future self.
Yeah, which is very interesting to see yourself in the future because time is not linear. Everything is happening at once, past, present, and future. So we can jump into different time, spaces, and dimension, especially when we are, in hypnosis, you move from the beta awake state into the alpha, which often we can experience alpha like when you're watching TV or you're scrolling, incessantly on, Facebook or Instagram. You're kind of in a semi-hypnotic state. But the idea with hypnosis is you move from that alpha even deeper into the theta state, which is, yeah, the realm of dreams, the realm of the unconscious.
Interesting. And what would you say? What does it mean to you to be a medicine woman or a shamanic healer?
Well, that is, has been redefined after I was in a very deep process and ceremony on this past Saturday.
Hmm.
I realized I don't even know how to articulate what happened, but the journey I'll say was a very, very dark journey, darker than I've ever experienced before, uh, which taught me so much about the hell that is created in our minds and how we can create this reality of hell in our lives. And because I went there and came back, I feel more equipped as a medicine woman to help people get out of hell. So being a medicine woman is really about understanding the depth of the medicine and being willing to look at the shadows that we are, well, which can be quite frankly terrifying for any of us, and to transmute that and overcome that and come back into the light. And it's also about being able to facilitate holding space for people who are doing that kind of deep shadow work. It is not something that I take lightly to be a medicine woman. And in many ways, I never thought I would choose this path. You know, in a way, it just kind of came to me. I'm like, if somebody said, oh, yeah, in, whatever, in 2020, you're going to embark on your journey as a real medicine woman, you're going to be dealing with, clearing people's entities and identifying ancestral curses and helping heal those curses for people and dealing with demons, I would be like, oh no, I'm not signing up for that.
Yeah.
I would have never signed up for that. But that is the path of the medicine woman, and it is the path of shamanism, and it's not an easy path. It's certainly not a path for the faint-hearted, so to speak, but it is a beautiful path, and it has its rewards as well. The blessings of the gifts that I have, and the ways in which I have been a part of helping to heal some very serious issues for people. I feel very honored, but also very humbled, because this path is not about being in ego at all, and I think that experience on Saturday, I was stripped down to nothing, and I felt like, well, I am nothing now. So I think that was a bit of an ego death for me, which I guess I needed. Every initiation is something we need, and it takes us to a new level. So even though it was really tough, I'm grateful for it, and I believe it will make me an even better healing practitioner and medicine woman as a result of going through that very dark night of the soul.
Yeah, I often find that those initiations and the next levels, it's like you have to pass through that dark night of the soul first, and it can be hard to get through to the other side, but then you kind of come out with a different, more compassionate or different focus and
Yeah,
peace. And
definitely, definitely,
have fun doing.
absolutely.
Um, Well, I actually came to you once, and that's how we met through my mom, and I went to see you, and you helped with releasing some kind of past life connections and cord cutting. Would you mind talking a little bit about the like what you help with people with doing that?
Yeah, so I believe and I know to be true that we all have what's called soul contracts. And they're not just in this lifetime, they're in many, many lifetimes. And so what happens as we go from lifetime to lifetime, we make more vows and oaths and promises to that soul. They can incarnate in a different way. Maybe they're your brother in one lifetime, maybe they're your husband in another lifetime, and so forth. And we keep making more promises and vows. And then by the time we get to this lifetime, we're like, oh my God, these bags are so heavy. Why does it feel heavy? Why does this issue keep reoccurring with this person? Why can't I overcome this pattern? And that's because of those contracts. So what I do is I help people clear those contracts so that they can have more freedom, not only with that person, but with themselves. And it opens up something greater to show up for you and that person or people in your lives. And I've had people, who were not talking, like a mother and daughter, they weren't even talking to each other. They were completely estranged. And then after clearing the mother's contracts with her daughter, the daughter contacted her the very next day. The daughter felt something. They
Wow.
reunited, they became close again, and then the daughter was so blown away, she contacted me and had a session with me. So it is like I keep seeing evidence of how this is really true and how it works because my clients tell me, and I'm like, wow, I'm kind of blown away that just clearing your contracts can shift everything in your life. But it can, it really does. So the cord cutting is another aspect because when we've had, especially when we've had intense connections with people, whether it's our parents or our siblings or close friends or a partner, and we maybe that relationship is ended or we're taking a big pause, oftentimes what happens is, that person unconsciously is courting with you because they don't want to let you go, or you could be courting with them. And that can be a real energy drain. Like it literally, your energy is being sucked out of you because there's a cord or a feeding tube. That's another possibility. And so by cutting the cords or closing off the feeding tube, you can regain your energy again and stop that leakage from occurring and be free of somebody else trying to pull on your energy. So cutting cords is really very important, I feel, especially when you've gone through something pretty traumatic. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I mean, there's some meditations and different things out there, but sometimes you need an extra little bit of help just to, make sure that it's fully cut or um,
Yeah,
you're not having that
exactly.
suck happening. Yeah,
Exactly.
I was really surprised by it and I enjoyed my experience with you. And you can do that remotely too, right?
Yes, I do. I do work remotely with a lot of my clients are from overseas, which is fortunate because I don't charge as much here in Mexico. In a way, it's much more of service here. So I greatly reduce my rates. So my overseas clients help to to sustain my living, to be honest.
Right.
Otherwise, it would be really difficult to survive on my Mexican uh, earnings for my work here. But I'm really grateful to be able to be of service here and help the people that I can. And so it all always equals out. It always does.
Absolutely. Energy in and out. What would you say is a big challenge for many people in the world, and how do you think they can overcome it?
I think trauma is probably one of the biggest challenges because whether they're big or small, we all have experienced trauma. We continue to experience trauma in our lives, but it's like how do we cope with that, or how do we not just cope but actually transmute that trauma and heal and release that trauma. And of course I've had my own bigger traumas as well, and we have to be willing to be brave and feel it and heal it. To heal it, we have to feel it, and to release it. But I do have a really incredible modality that I downloaded. It's my own. It's called ETRCC, which stands for Emotional Therapy through Reiki Chakra Clearing,
Hmm.
that combines the power of Reiki with energy psychology. And so people who come to me with traumas can, without fully reliving it, can quickly transmute it within a 45 to an hour session
Wow.
and leave feeling neutralized, like that trauma has no longer any impact on them. So that's been really incredible to have that modality and help so many people with trauma. Also with fears, with phobias as well. I've helped people overcome fear of flying and phobias of I had a friend who had a phobia of geckos. She couldn't even look at a gecko. Like it just freaked her out.
Wow. There's
And I did one session with her, and she's like, the next thing I know, she's posting on Facebook. She's in a hotel with a gecko themed room. She's like, hey, Maitreya, look at this.
wow.
And I was just like, and she hadn't gotten back to me to tell me that that phobia was healed, but it was. So we don't have to suffer. I guess the key is like if you're not sure that you have the tools to do this on your own, you can reach out to somebody like myself who can help you. You don't have to continue to suffer with these traumas or fears or phobias. We can heal ourselves, absolutely. And a big part of my path is teaching people how to heal themselves to with different tools that I've learned. I prefer to empower people, to empower my clients. I'm not interested in having somebody come to me 10 times. You know, after 6 times, it's like, no, you've got to, I literally told the client, no, I'm not going to heal you anymore. I'm going to teach you what to do. And then she stopped coming to me. So
Yeah.
yeah, some people would say that's crazy. You're not going to make money. But I'm like, no, the right people will come who need my help. I'm not here to just try to make money off of people. I'm here to empower them and to let them understand that they have everything they need in themselves. They just have to trust themselves to know that that's possible.
We create our own, like how as you were saying, in a way, like with our worries and our anxieties and our fears, and maybe not understanding where they stem from, and going to see someone that maybe has a vision either beyond or behind, on how those things
Yes,
kind of came to be, so that they can kind of move past
absolutely. Absolutely. I believe anything is possible. And,
that.
you know, I've healed myself from a broken arm. I couldn't get a cast because it was high up on the arm, like closer to the shoulder. And I literally every day was sending healing, and I was feeling the bones moving under my hand, which was actually pretty painful
Sure.
because the bones had to move back into place. And then after 6 weeks, I went to get another X-ray. X-ray. I was like, okay, I think maybe it's healed. And the doctor who was doing my X-rays, he looked at the former one, and he was like, yeah, the bone is completely broken away. If I was your doctor, I would have told you you had to get surgery. And I was like, well, let's just see. And he came back with the new X-ray, and he was like, I can't believe it. It healed perfectly as if you had surgery. And there was only a thin gray line where the break had been, just a thin gray line. And he was just kind of like incredulous. He couldn't understand. And I just said, oh, positive thinking is what I didn't want to get
Yeah.
into explaining that I'm an energy healer. But I think that experience had to happen to prove to myself that if I can heal other people, I can heal myself. I have to believe that I can do this, and I did. So we all have that power within us, but we have to believe in our ability to heal ourselves. Absolutely.
Right, right. Well, there's this interesting book. It's The Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. And they talk
Oh,
about where they're going. And they would go into like little communities and help people with healing. And they would experience it, but sometimes then they would revert back. And it was because
right.
they didn't believe in it and they put their authority in someone else versus themselves. But that it's the belief of it really that is so important.
So important. So important. And I know now anything is possible. Anything is
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah, that's truly amazing.
Yeah.
Can you share any tools or practices that can help people stay connected and present in their day to day?
Yes. Yes. I have a 7-step practice that I do. I can share the link with you, and it's currently set on private, but I'm going to make it public now. It's an incredible practice. I do it every day. It's my non-negotiable. I have to do it every day. And it takes you through connecting to your higher self, to God or source, universe, whichever word resonates for you. I also connect with my helping spirits. Then I ground myself to the earth. I clear any energies that don't serve my highest good. I center myself. I gather back my power anywhere I've given away my power or it's been unconsciously taken from me. I gather all my power back. I unify mind, body, and spirit, and I unify with the frequency of love. And then the final step is protecting. And that pretty much covers all the bases um, for your life, like your spiritual hygiene, so to speak.
Right.
And why wouldn't we do some practice that only takes 2 or 3 minutes if it's going to help us greatly help us in our lives and help us to stay connected and know that we are always connected, but sometimes we just forget. So that's one practice I do. I'm also recently starting to do a very ancient practice that comes from the Mayans. It's called the magical passes. People want to know more about it, you can search for Carlos Castaneda, and he has a book called The Magical Passes. And these are like energetic movements similar to Qigong, but also quite different, that increase your spiritual power. And the idea is that, you know, when we have strong vibration, strong spiritual power, then the negative energies in our lives won't impact us, they won't harm us. Or people that are getting psychically attacked, that will stop because their vibration has raised high enough that any lower vibrations cannot infiltrate their energy field. So because of the work I do, I have to continually keep my vibration very high because I am working with some heavier energies. Otherwise, I could get sick. So part of the job of any healer should be to really take care of yourself, take care of your energies. Because if you're not doing that, you're putting yourself at risk and you're not going to be able to be any help to anybody else.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, no, that's important. And those are good practices too, because then you're connecting, with something higher than you, but then also connecting to the earth and finding that balance in between. Um,
Absolutely.
Keep your energy
Absolutely.
grounded and supported. And yeah, I don't know those practices, but I've tried a little qigong, and I do enjoy it. I haven't done it recently, but I do like it. You can feel
I
like,
love Qigong.
yeah, you can feel kind of the energy cleansing and clearing and getting stronger. You're beautiful.
Absolutely.
And so what services right now are you currently offering, and do you have any future projects?
So right now I am offering online sessions for energy healing. I'm also a coach. I've got 2 coaching certifications, and I I think I'm a pretty good coach. Yeah, I've been helping a lot of people. And I also am offering my shamanic mentoring program. It's an online program that runs for 6 months. It's pretty awesome for people that are healers or even therapists. I've had some therapists who want to up level their skills and learn more about how to incorporate some shamanic practices into their therapies or healing work. And in addition to that, I have a 1 year professional healer mentoring program for people that are starting off on this path. They have some foundation would be preferred, whether they've done at least Reiki 1 or they've done some other or yoga certification, at least something, so that I know that I recently worked with somebody who didn't have a lot, and it was a little bit challenging for her. So yeah, I think it's more for people that are a little bit more than beginners, that are heading towards, I'd say, intermediate level in their energy practices and work. And that's the professional healer mentoring program that I'm offering. And I also do ceremonies, sacred mushroom ceremonies here in Mexico as well as Bali. I do. I don't do those online. They have to be in person.
Yeah.
And I am running retreats and trainings in person. I'm hoping to do another shamanic training possibly in November or December here in Mexico.
Oh,
So
lovely.
if people are interested, they can get in touch with me about that training. So yeah, it's beautiful work, and I feel really honored to be able to facilitate this type of work to help people to access their greatest potential and up level their skills so that they can live their best lives possible.
Yeah, and I think that more and more people are kind of feeling that call, as times are moving forward, and looking for kind of some kind of a mentor or guide to facilitate their
Yes,
journey so that they can help others too.
absolutely, absolutely. Because I can't do it all, Christa, man. I need to train more people. It's what Spirit is telling me. We need as many light workers as possible to be helping right now.
Yeah.
The world really, really requires it at this time. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you have any advice for someone that's considering to become a healer or a medicine woman or a medicine man and kind of wants to go down that path of maybe the shamanic path?
Wow. I would say really check out who your teacher is. Don't just jump on the first opportunity. Trust your gut to make sure that the teacher is in integrity and that you feel fully aligned with that teacher
Hmm.
or a sacred ceremony facilitator. Ask a lot of questions before you embark on any training with anyone. Ask a lot of questions. So that's one thing I would say. I would also say, yeah, like, YouTube is like the university of life, start checking out different modalities, watching videos, and seeing what really resonates with you before you embark in spending the money and investing in any particular modality. I think you'll know when you get a big yes, like this is it, I feel it. Then you can start investigating who is the right teacher that could teach me these skills. So that's another thing I would say. And also understanding that when you embark on this path, it's a life path. And so it's not like you're dabbling, oh, I'm just going to see what this is like or see what this is like. I mean, this is a very sacred path. And so it's meant to be embarked on in a sacred way. So just trying to dabble in different medicines is dangerous, for example. Like, yeah, this is not the way to go into medicine work at all. And I honestly would say I didn't start my shamanic path with medicine. I started with just learning the tools, such as drum healing and taking journeys to the upper world to connect with my helping spirits there and to the lower world to connect with my power animals. And I did a lot of foundational work for years in shamanism before I even started to do anything with plant medicine.
Yeah,
So people are looking for a shortcut to
totally.
enlightenment with plant medicine. This is not the way to go. This is no shortcut. And sometimes you can have a very dark journey like me, and you are not psychologically or spiritually prepared. And this can be dangerous. I've had two clients who both had psychotic breaks because they weren't ready or they didn't have good facilitation. So please make sure you have a good foundation of meditation or other spiritual practices for several years before you start to experiment or go into plant medicine. Please, please, is what I would say to people. Don't just look for the quick and easy fix. That is not the way. Slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, I think so many people often you want to just try all the different, you want to click your boxes. I've tried, all the different medicines or
Yes,
genes and
right,
not really take the time to integrate them or do maybe the
right,
first deep shadow work first before even asking the medicine if it's the right time for them to embark with it.
right. That's a great question, Christa. Exactly. And trusting the answer. Don't trying to force things because you want to have this, transcendental experience. Yeah,
Right. And I do
absolutely.
think like everything, if you want it, then it was probably put on your heart for a reason, and it'll probably come in the right time in your path if you just kind of have faith and did the legwork first.
Yes, I totally agree. Totally agree.
Wow. Okay, wonderful. Well, I was just curious, just out of my own curiosity, what was your original driving force to go to Bali? Like, how did that kind
Oh,
of?
that's a long story. I'll try to give you the summary. I was going through a dark night of the soul, not due to any medicine, but for personal reasons. I was really at a crossroads in my life. My marriage was falling apart, and I was really lost. And a friend of mine saw a job advertisement for a teacher to teach English online in Bali. That was back in, I guess, the beginning of 2002. And so I decided that would be good to have a change of environment. And I'd actually visited Indonesia though prior to that decision, when I was living in Korea and I was teaching in Korea. So I really loved Indonesia, and I had that in my mind already, in the back of my mind, that I would like to go back. So anyway, I got the job, and I never knew that I would end up staying there for 19 years. And that was basically my whole my main chunk of training, spiritual work and training, was in that 19 years of being in Bali.
Wow.
And then, of course, when the, pandemic happened, everything shifted. And I was on a trip in Turkey with my sons and got the news that I couldn't get back into Bali without doing this injection thing. And so I decided not to return to Bali, and Spirit guided me to come to Mexico, where I am now.
Oh, no, that's beautiful. That's a neat, neat detour.
Yeah, life is we can never predict what's going to happen. And I am very guided by Spirit, and I really listen to the niggles and trust that they're bringing me to the place I'm supposed to be.
I believe so too. I was actually going to say, like, do you think that following your heart can kind of lead you to your aligned path?
Yes, absolutely, Christa. I mean, you've done that. I mean, look at you. And yeah, you're amazing in what you've achieved in your life. And you're such a light to everybody. So I'm so glad you're in my life as well.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Do you have just final question? I was just wondering, do you have any advice for someone who desires to maybe like follow their passion or their heart, but don't really know how to go about it? Maybe they're like wanting to become an entrepreneur and pursue their life's mission. Do you have any advice for someone that's kind of curious about doing that?
I think a lot of what stops people is fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of getting it wrong. So I've always been the kind of person, as crazy as it may be, that sometimes I've been terrified of doing things, and I'm like, just do it anyway.
Yeah.
Maitreya, just do it anyway. I push myself to overcome those fears. And the more you do that, the stronger you'll get. So following your passion, why wouldn't we do that? Like, this is going to bring us the most joy, and remembering that, and knowing that if I truly follow my heart and follow what makes my heart sing, that's what's going to bring me joy in my life, then it's a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you choose it? Yeah, and just being afraid and doing it anyway, and knowing that Spirit has got your back, and you will always be divinely guided on your path, especially if you're following your passion.
Yeah, I believe so too. Well, it's really been a pleasure having you on, and just sharing time and space with you. And thank you for sharing with the community today. And I'll make sure to put all your links and everything below so that everyone can check them out. So be sure to follow. And if there's any services that you want to get from Maitreya, please be sure to reach out to her. I know that you can do it remotely or in person. So whether you're here or there, we can get together.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Christa. It's been great to be on your show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you too. Bye.
Bye.
This trip, this course has been a multi-dimensional, very magical experience for me.
Are you feeling called to a career of service, one that creates meaningful impact, helps others transform, and offers you the freedom to design your own path? With a flexible schedule, the ability to work anywhere, and the power to create change in your community, structural integration, also known as Rolfing, could be your next step. Join us for a 5-week intensive training from October 21st to November 22nd, 2024 in the stunning city of Oaxaca. Experience not just a career shift, but personal transformation as you both receive and learn to give this life-changing therapy. When you're not honing your skills, explore breathtaking locations in your free time. Imagine all the beauty and adventure that awaits you, and not to mention friendship and community. You'll also enjoy unlimited access to online courses after the training, giving you the resources to continue your journey long after your time in Oaxaca. Discover more at gravitybodyacademy.com.